Welcome to Sustainability Soundbites, presented by E&E Leader. Indiana lawmakers open a second front on NIPSCO review. 2 days after the governor directed regulators to investigate NIPSCO, a group of state representatives is asking the legislature to open its own review, this time with public hearings inside the communities the storm hit hardest. 8 Indiana House Democrats, including Reps Carolyn Jackson, Earl Harris Jr., Reagan Hatcher, Randy Novak, Chuck Mosley, Mike Andrade, Vernon Smith, and Matt Pierce sent a letter to the Legislative Council's Personnel Subcommittee asking it to assign the House Energy, Utilities, and Telecommunications Interim Study Committee to examine NIPSCO's response to the August 11 storm and the outages that followed. The request, made 2 days after Gov. Mike Braun directed the Indiana Office of Utility Consumer Counselor to petition the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission for its own investigation, opens a second legislative track running alongside the regulatory one already underway at the IURC. The lawmakers specifically asked the committee to hold public hearings in the Northwest Indiana communities affected by the outages, and to require NIPSCO representatives to appear and answer questions directly, something a regulatory docket does not necessarily guarantee. The Legislative Committee already had NIPSCO on its agenda. This is not the Interim Study Committee's first look at the utility. House Democrats sent a letter raising concerns about NIPSCO's rates back in September 2025, and by February 2026, that pressure had turned bipartisan, with House Republicans joining Democrats in asking the IURC to examine whether NIPSCO's rates had become unreasonable. The Commission held a public fact-finding hearing on NIPSCO and 4 other investor-owned utilities on March 24, 2026, months before the August 11 storm. That earlier scrutiny centered on rate increases rather than storm response, but it means the legislature was already circling NIPSCO's cost structure well before this outage gave the question new urgency, a pattern of state-level utility oversight escalating on separate tracks that mirrors how other states have relied on parallel legislative and regulatory processes when existing utility oversight wasn't built for the pressure now being placed on it. Restoration is winding down as the reviews begin. NIPSCO's 7 a.m. Wednesday update said restoration efforts tied to the storm and subsequent severe weather were substantially complete, with crews continuing to work a limited number of individual outage cases rather than broad service territory repairs. More than 300,000 Northwest Indiana customers lost power in the derecho by NIPSCO's own count. That timing puts the legislative request roughly in step with the point where an outage response shifts from an active emergency into a subject regulators and lawmakers can actually examine at a distance without the operational pressure of ongoing restoration complicating what gets asked. 2 separate government bodies are now positioned to produce 2 different kinds of records. An IURC docket built around whether previously approved infrastructure and vegetation funds were spent as promised, and a legislative hearing record built around direct public testimony from the residents who went without power the longest, a distinction that could shape which findings carry more weight with ratepayers than with regulators, particularly as other states weigh giving regulators explicit authority to disallow cost recovery when utilities fall short of performance commitments. Interested in a Soundbite sponsorship? Contact our team to learn more. Thank you for listening.